All right, so let's take a look at learner profile strategies. And there are a variety of ways you can tackle that, and these are just a few. But your big takeaway here is to remember that learning outcomes significantly improve when you know what your students' learning preferences, their skills and interests are, and you're able to differentiate content on the fly based on that. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not so overwhelming if you just slow and steady add to your tool chest, so that you have a variety of techniques to respond with when you can identify a particular learning need. But in order to do that, you need to know what those are. So we're going to talk about getting to know individuals, establishing community will be part of that, assessing readiness, and then identifying learning styles. So a couple things you can do at the beginning. The Google form is a great way, any type of survey tool where you can get input. That's a great thing to do. I'll just show you a quick example of what that looks like. It's just a form they would fill out, and then the results end up in a spreadsheet, and you have charts and graphs that go along with that. Flipgrid is another great tool. So you can provide, let's see if I can get you an example here. There we go. So in Flipgrid, you have video. So there's just so many things you can do with Flipgrid. Again, this isn't a Flipgrid workshop, but you can get introductions, reflections, interaction. There's lots of things you can do with Flipgrid, just, so you can introduce yourself, you can share your hobbies, people can comment on it. And as a teacher, you can modify this. You can moderate it. You can only approve them. You can turn off commenting. So definitely take a look at Flipgrid. On your handout that I provided for you, there is a getting started guide linked there. So go ahead and check that out. And then this other thing that I find, if you have the time, scheduling welcome calls, even if it takes 2 months into a school year to do that. At the Virtual Learning Academy, we always had a welcome call with a parent and a student, and it can be really difficult to schedule. But even if it's only for a minute or two to say hello and get to know them a little bit, it's a great thing you can do. If you do your surveys first, like getting to know you survey, you can have one for parents, where you collect their best contact information, best time to find them or reach them, and also just find out a little bit more about what their concerns are or questions or circumstances are. That could be a good basis for the welcome call. You have this pre-collection of information that you can then tap into and learn more about in that call. And that can pay big dividends as you go through the year with the same students, having that intimate relationship, if you will, with the family. The next thing is sort of learning about your learner is tapping into building community at the same time. So you want to learn about the learner, but they should also be learning about each other. So a couple of examples here. We've got a collaborative doc. This is for adult professional development. But just a simple little thing where you put in your name, your title, and this was kind of like a joke. What do you want to be when you grow up? Just kind of get the conversation going and to demonstrate a collaborative doc. But you can take it to the next level here. This is also adult learning, but you can bring it down to student, high school students. Put in a picture that captures your feelings about remote learning was this. The benefit and challenges. Before remote learning, I thought this, but now I know that. And after you've put in your information in here, you're asked to comment on two folks and have a conversation. So you can take the collaboration document in the beginning to the next level and provide opportunity for your students to get to know each other. And the nice thing about this, it's all in one doc. You can go through it. You get a window into individuals, and they get the ability to interact with each other. So that's another way to build community. Another way with Google is the collaborative slide deck, where you can have each student do sort of like an about me, and then have it, autoplay or, embed it, have it linked in your classroom, however you see fit. The other thing I've done for the building community activity is, yes, they can put something like this, an image and a little bit about themselves, but they can also teach something. So like, teach me something that that's unique to you. So a student might be into gardening, so they would post something about how to best grow a plant, and that would be their contribution to the slides. Another way to do it, the selfie book club. So here is kind of like a getting to know you. Me, my selfie, and my classmates. Express your selfie through the books you read. What is your favorite book, and what does it say about you? So for your reading enthusiasts, your book lovers here, you may really love this and want to adapt this for your classroom. So you can think about the collaborative slide as, yes, it could be the about me, but you can add a twist on it that makes it a little more fun. And then the flip grid that I just mentioned before is another great way to build community. Okay, so we're looking at getting to know you, building community while we get to know each other, and now assessing readiness. And of course, you can look at test scores and academic records. There's a nice tool called Pear Deck that you can use with Google Slides that allows for some interactivity. So I linked that there. The two areas that I want to highlight is the pre-assessment quick quiz at the beginning and the end. That's not graded, but what happens is it gives you a sense of whether or not students, how much they know about what you're about to teach, but also gives them some schema for what they're about to learn. So if they get 100% on it, they're like feeling really good about going into the unit. If they don't, don't despair, we're going to learn about that, and then you'll have the chance to answer these questions again at the end and see if you get 100, So pre-assessments and post-assessments. And while we're talking about this, I just want to tap in on one of the ways that you can make learning more accessible is to create patterns. So at the beginning of every unit, you have a quick pre-assessment survey like this that also is at the end, and they get in the habit of wanting to get that 100% at the end. So you set the form so that when they can only take it once, and then you give it to them again, another one at the end, so that they can see how they improved. Okay. So we have that one way to assess readiness. The other way is individual KWLs. So I put a template here, and that's linked on your handout. So you could take this, you could have students work on it individually. You could put it up and make it collaborative synchronously. You're all working, you do a screen share, you share this with all your students, and you guys are about to like work on this project, and you're learning about something. So you can collaborate on what you know, what you want to know, and then what you've learned. But this is also something that could be used as an individual brainstorming, if you will. We started out today with the Jamboard with the KWL, so I'll just jump into that real quick. This is another collaborative KWL where you're working together and everybody adds a sticky, and then what do you know, what do you want to know, and then we'll return back at the end, what have you learned. Okay, so assessing readiness. All right, and last but not least, we'll talk about learning style inventories. Now I put a link in your handout to this. There are hundreds of ways to tackle learning style quizzes and inventories. This is just one, but it's a pretty easy one to do, and it kind of can be used with almost any grade level, where they would circle the letter before the statement that best describes them, and then at the end they score it up and kind of give you some idea of, they tell you, you find out if your learner is visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And then they also will get learning study strategies. So you're giving them their own, like, oh, okay, this is how I learn, and these are some of the things that can help me. I recommend if you feel like you're challenged in the area of how do I address individual learning styles? Go ahead and read through this list, and we're going to be talking a little bit more of that as we go along. But these are the three biggies. So visual. Visual learners like things organized and written. We always think visual means text. Well, no, visual means seeing. I need to see something. But also text, written things. If they're visual learners, written things are really important. And organization is super important to visual learners. If you're not organized, if it's not clear, if you don't set a nice table, they can get easily scattered. So then you've got your auditory, so that like to listen, learn by listening, and kinesthetic, they like to be engaged. So I just look at it this way: try to tap into all these three things whenever you're doing anything. And I'll show you some examples of that in just a minute. But here's one, like, okay, we have to learn our states, so I'll find a song. And this is, you don't want to listen to that, but you provide some auditory things for students. And we're going to tap into what that looks like in different ways as well. And then there's interactivity. So maybe you make your own. There's plenty of manipulatives online, but this is just something made with Google Draw, which is, drag and drop the abbreviation to the appropriate state. So practice, you do as much as you can. So you can make your own manipulatives with a Google Draw. And I've got a few more examples of some stuffs there. Flippity.net is also a great place to find interactive tools. They have a little glitch with the spreadsheet. You have an extra step right now. I think they're working on a fix for that, but I have always loved Flippity. You can make flashcards and that Jeopardy show and things like that. It's a pretty cool tool. So you should definitely check flippity.out. Just I'll show you in this case, you end up with a spreadsheet, and then the spreadsheet gets published to the web, and it makes like interactive flashcards. So you can make your own custom interactive tools with flippity.net. So a couple of ideas for you. Now we're only in this section 1 of your handout, so just keep in mind that the handout that was provided for you with the links, we've gone through getting to know you, building community, assessing readiness, and learning style inventory. So this is the area that we're about to close out. So take any notes, write down any questions you might have for follow-up. Differentiation doesn't ask teachers to begin by individualizing instruction. I can't emphasize that enough. It asks teachers to look for patterns of need, and that's having that mindset, being aware, being mindful, and also continuing to level up by adding to your toolkit so that when you do identify patterns of need, you'll be able to respond accordingly. All right, so in the next section, we're going to be talking a little bit about the learning environment.